What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic, and I have a collection update for you. Now, a good chunk of this is stuff I missed in 2019. Unfortunately, I can't listen to all the metal out there. Believe me, I fucking tried. There's some older stuff in here, some more obscure stuff in here, but mostly it is stuff I missed in 2019 and now have just gotten around to listening to. Before I start this, I want to throw a quick plug for Heathen Metalheads out there. It's a cool Facebook group out there for metalheads. We do theme days, thrash metal Thursdays, death metal Saturdays, etc. Lots of good conversation, discussion there. All the Thralls are there. We like to hang out there. So yeah, definitely check it out and tell them Necrotic sent you. So let's get into this. So we're going to start off with a pair here from the same band, Communion. We have At the Announcement and The Communion. This is a blackened thrash metal band from Chile. This came out on Hell's Headbangers. And both these albums are very different. At the Announcement actually favors way more raw black metal. There's some elements of thrash, but this one feels more like a black metal album. It's very raw sounding. The production's extra gritty. It just has a very black metal atmosphere overall. The thrash metal elements are definitely dialed down. The Communion, however, is way more on the thrash metal side, and whereas this is all high-paced, very fast, blast beat oriented songs, this is a little more groove laden, a little more songwriting dynamics, and I think honestly just a better listen. Now it's a matter of preference which you'd actually rather jam here, but I think both these albums definitely have a lot of good tunes on them. I just actually prefer the ones that actually have a little more groove laden stuff, a little more riff oriented stuff. There's more memorable songs on The Communion, but you may actually dig this one too just because of how raw and nasty it is. Either way, check them both out. Both pretty damn good albums. Desultory, Swallow the Snake. Picked this one up because I didn't own this one, and I kind of knew about it and how this was their attempt to go death and roll / groove metal, and essentially it just sounds like a second-rate Wolverine Blues, to be honest. Not very good, and Desultory writes some killer albums. I love Desultory's earlier albums. Their first two, Bitterness and Into Eternity, are absolutely killer albums. This, not so much. They took a gamble. They kind of went with what was becoming a budding trend with the whole death and roll thing. And it's just a lackluster album. None of the songs really stick. There's not a lot of hooks on here. The vocals took a shift to that more shouty style that LG adopted for Wolverine Blues, but it just doesn't work here. It's not a very good album, and I believe they pretty much broke up for a while after this. Came back a bit stronger years later, though, so yeah, this was just a misstep, but, you know, had to get it. Kind of a completionist. So, yeah, check it out, though. You might dig it. Who knows? Ectoplasma, White-Eyed Trance. This is their new album that came out on Memento Mori, released last year. And I'm surprised I didn't get to this one. I thought about ordering it, and I just kind of slipped my mind because I have all their other releases, and I really dig what they do. It's raw, old-school death metal, lacking in some production, but they kind of want it just very raw and gritty and almost kind of a live feel. This one is better produced. I think it's better produced than the last one for sure. Really solid writing on here. Lots of just obituary worship and stuff that remind me a lot of bands like Monstrosity. Really just catchy songs on here. Like lots of killer guitar work. Production is a little bit raw on this, but I think it's an improvement from their last album, like I said. But if you love old school death metal, definitely check these guys out. They're from Greece, and I guess there's a really cool scene there too in terms of old school death metal, because this isn't the only one from Greece that's going to be on here. Check it out. Scumripper, All Veins Blazing. This is a death thrash black metal, almost punk release. Really interesting stuff. It kind of fits in all of those little genres. There's lots of Motorhead worship on here, but it's very much still death metal and thrash metal too. Guitar tone in here, I think, is really light for either one of those genres, actually. It feels more punkish. The production feels more like a DIY punk album. What's really cool on here is towards the end, you get towards the first two EPs that they re-released on here, and honestly, I like the production on those better. The guitars seem a little bit heavier, and it seems just a little bit more dense. It doesn't feel as punkish. It feels more like metal. But this is a really good release, and yeah, definitely check it out. It's interesting. It kind of borders on all those genres, but it still remains very heavy and in your face and pretty fucking fun. Check it out. Good stuff. Spectral Voice, Eroded Corridors of Unbeing. Man, I slept on this album for too long. Was not aware that members of Blood Incantation was in here until we actually reviewed Blood Incantation. And Jesus Christ, this is one of the best Death Doom albums I have heard. This is incredible. The same level of songwriting skill that's in Blood Incantation is 100% in here, except it is more focused on Death Doom. The production on here is exceptional, especially for what they were going for. This feels like it was recorded in a dungeon, and all the tortured screams in the background just add to the atmosphere. And this album is loaded with atmosphere. It is just sick and oppressive and doom-laden. It is just a nasty listen, but you're still great with a lot of cool melodies and monstrous riffs. This is a killer album. Again, I slept on it way too long because this came out in 2017 on Dark Descent, and I could see why it was on so many year-end lists. Amazing album. If you haven't heard this, definitely check it out. Vultur, Drown in Gangrenous Blood. Yet another awesome old-school death metal band from Greece. This actually even features a member from Ectoplasma in this. I believe it's their bassist. And once again, this is just raw, nasty, old-school death metal. Production here is a little bit grittier than it is on Ectoplasma. I think there might be too much reverb on the snare, especially. It just seems like every time he hits it, it's just echoing down a hallway. It's a little bit much. I kind of like the snare in a metal album to have a good kind of snap to it. But overall, the songwriting on here is absolutely killer. Once again, this one is a little bit faster paced, I think, than Ectoplasma. There's definitely more blast beats on this, more like suffocation-like moments, but tons of cool obituary-style riffs on here that I absolutely loved. Really solid release. Again, Memento Mori Records. This is another one I missed in 2019, and I found this used over at a record store, and yeah, it's fucking killer. Definitely check this shit out. Prostitute Disfigurement, self-titled. I know exactly what I'm going to get when I get a Prostitute Disfigurement album. It is straight up brutal death metal. It is fucking fast as shit, blast beats, in-your-face riffing, and of course, fucked up song titles. The opening track is called Fight a Transvestite. Just kind of interesting, and there's definitely a lot of repeating of that line, and it just kind of works in terms of a rhyme scheme. And once again, these guys just go for the throat as far as just fucked up subject matter. I mean, you look at the cover, you've got Jack the Ripper disemboweling some chick. Pretty solid release from them. I mean, I've definitely heard better in their past, but this is still very consistent. And this is another band at MDF this year, and I can't wait to check them out because I've been wanting to see these guys live for a while. Definitely check this out. It's good shit. Prong Age of Defiance EP. Now, there's only 2 new tracks on here, the title track and End of Sanity. The title track honestly sounds a little genty as far as the production. The guitar tone is almost kind of like that 7-string deep tone on that. But End of Sanity actually sounds more like your traditional Prong song, where it's kind of that balance between thrash metal and groove metal. Pretty decent stuff as far as the new tracks are concerned. Then you have 3 live tracks, or at least they're recorded live in studio, I believe. Rude Awakening, Another Woolly Device, and Cut Rate. I have to say, I like these live versions because I haven't seen Prong live yet, and I kind of still need to, and I have to admit, Tommy Victor has become a much better vocalist over the years. You know, they take some interesting little liberties with some of the songs, kind of let parts roll on a little bit longer, solos maybe a little bit more improvised. It was really cool to hear this, especially Cut Rate. Cut Rate is one of my favorite tracks on Cleansing, and yeah, it just rips. Pretty good stuff. This is on SPV and Steamhammer, and I'm hoping this year they're going to release a full length of this. This is a pretty solid teaser. I'm curious what the new album will sound like. Check it out. Soulburn. This is their 1996 demo reissued by Vic Records. This reissue came out in 2017, and it's a pretty solid demo. Honestly, it sounds a lot like Ace Fix. These guys are from the Netherlands, so yeah, pretty much right in that area. And it's kind of interesting in the sense that both the first and the fourth track, because there's only 4 tracks in here, are essentially intros and outros, which didn't scream very necessary, even though the 2 songs on here in the middle are longer. Just seemed like they didn't need those intros and outros. In fact, you combine the length of that, you'd have one other song on here they could throw there. But all in all, I like the 2 songs that are on here, the 2 actual songs, and I definitely think I need to get some Soulburn because I was pretty impressed with this stuff. It was pretty good shit. So if you like Ace Fix and, yeah, pretty much Ace Fix. Maybe a little bit of Pestilence, but mostly Ace Fix. You definitely dig this. Check it out. It's good stuff. Asagraum. Dawn of Infinite Fire. This came out on Edge Circle Productions, and this is an all-female black metal band that absolutely fucking rips. This album is killer. It is very much like Mayhem and Marduk. It is fast-paced, but it's not bereft of melody. There's a lot of melody, in fact. Lots of killer hooks on here, great guitar work. Someone in the comments in one of my videos, I think it was towards the year-end lists, recommended I check this out. And, well, I definitely did. I went out and bought it after hearing it because it's fucking awesome. Honestly, this could have made my year-end list, but I didn't get to it, so it would have been fair to put on there. But this is absolutely killer. I definitely want to check out more by this band. It's awesome. Definitely check it out, especially if you love like Mayhem and Marduk. And chances are, if you like black metal, there's a good chance you like those bands. Definitely check this out. It's awesome. Knocked Loose, A Different Shade of Blue. Yet another one I missed in 2019 that seemed to be on a lot of people's lists, and I can see why. This is one of the nastiest hardcore releases I have heard this year, or last year rather. Technically this year, since I just listened to it not too long ago. This is awesome. It is raw as hell. The vocals are shrill and in your face, and it has that just awesome hardcore bite. Great use of dissonance and some really surprising melody on here too. It kind of reminds me of like a blend of Sick of It All and Throwdown, but kind of couple that with like Converged in terms of like all the dissonant stuff. And there's even little touches of death metal and thrash metal in here too in spots. This is definitely a buzz band that I would say is worthy of the hype. This is really, really fucking cool because I kept hearing about these guys left and right. You know, there was no shortage of media coverage on these guys. I just didn't get around to getting it. And yeah, this is fucking awesome. I'm definitely going to check out more by them for sure. And yeah, I hopefully will get a chance to see them live because I have a feeling this live is just disgusting. Definitely check this out. This was a killer release. Leprous Pitfalls. This is honestly, I think, one of the softest releases they've put out yet. And they're not necessarily the most heavy band out there. A lot of their stuff is kind of avant-garde prog and little bits of alternative in there too. It's a very interesting sound. This album kind of skims on heavier moments. In fact, the guitars aren't really hugely present. This is very synth-driven and very, very vocal-driven. Their frontman slash keyboardist is pretty remarkable with his range and his vocal control. Like, generally I don't like higher vocals, but this guy seems like his falsetto is very natural. And his ability to just change octaves is remarkable. Songwriting here is really good too. Again, it's just not very heavy at all. In fact, I wouldn't even call this a metal album. It's more of just sort of an experimental prog alternative album. When I saw them recently, they actually covered Massive Attack's Angel, which I love that song. It's killer. And honestly, it seems like they're kind of closer to Massive Attack than they are sort of prog metal anymore. But this is still really good. And I wouldn't mind seeing them live again because they put on a killer show last time. But yeah, definitely check this out. Not really metal, but a really good listen. Master, The Witch Hunt. Been meaning to pick up more Master. It's, you know, just kind of hard to find some of their more recent stuff for a decent price since smaller label and most of their stuff is import now. Pretty solid release. I like this better than the one that came after this. This one came out in 2013 on FBA Records, which very familiar with FBA Records since I seem to be reviewing a lot from them here lately. And solid, thrashy death metal. This one is super energetic. The vocals are nice and fucking over the top. They're pretty fucking ridiculous. And it's just ripping from start to finish. There really wasn't a flat-out weak song on this. Really good stuff. If you've never jammed Master, it's just awesome old school death metal. I totally recommend their first two albums. Those are underground classics in my opinion. But yeah, definitely check out some of their later stuff. This is really good shit right here too. Check it out. Norma Jean, All Hail. Another one I kind of slept on. I should have checked out. I'm actually a huge Norma Jean fan. I'm not really big on a lot of metalcore bands, but this is one I seem to follow just because I think their writing style is really awesome and they just bring a really nasty energy to all their songs. For a Christian band, these guys are dark. They are fucking bleak, but they're also just angry. I mean, this sounds so fucking hostile from the very start. Not bereft of melody, though. Like, towards the end, there's some really cool, more atmospheric, kind of almost Deftones-ish kind of songs in here, but most of this is just breakdowns, dissonance, nasty chugs. The production on here is phenomenal. This is so sludgy and nasty, but it's very well produced. Everything's separated really well. Another killer album for them. I was really big on Polar Similar. I thought Wrongdoers was excellent. These guys keep metalcore kind of fresh for me. And again, like I said, I'm not the biggest metalcore fan, but every now and then an album will grab me in that genre, and these guys just write some killer stuff. Really dig this. I'm definitely going to be jamming this a lot, and yeah, definitely check it out. It's really good shit. And finally, we have Vacivus Annihilism. This is another death metal release that I missed out on. They're from the UK. This came out on Profound Lore, which Profound Lore is a fucking killer record label. They put out all sorts of cool shit. This is really awesome, sludgy, old school death metal. Very atmospheric, lots of cool melody throughout this. I think the drum work on here is exceptional. There is some really different sorts of drum work on here, like interesting fills, interesting rhythms and such. The guitar work on here is fantastic. It has kind of a death doomy quality, but it stays mostly in the realm of old school death metal across the board. Awesome songwriting. All these songs were absolutely killer. The only thing I could knock it on was the intro track seemed kind of unnecessary, since the first track had almost a continuation of that intro track in the beginning before leading into the actual song. So dismiss that, and I think you would have had a straight up awesome, near perfect death metal album. Definitely recommend this. Just flat out check it out. There's some serious incantation worship on here, which I'm always a fan of that. Really good stuff. Again, definitely check it out. Alright, well that knocks out another one of these. Should have some more album reviews coming soon. And of course I'm always collecting, so I'm always listening to new music out there, so definitely more collection updates for sure. And soon we're getting back to another discography ranking, because those are always fucking fun. So, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do shit like this all the time. Catch you guys later.